Have you ever been shamed, publicly or privately, and felt that silent rage building inside you? What if I told you the moment you react emotionally, you've already lost? Most people try to defend themselves, explain themselves, or worse, fight back. But what if the real power, the Machiavellian power, is to turn shame into a weapon and make the person who tried to humiliate you regret ever opening their mouth? So here's the question. Are you reacting like a victim, or are you about to learn how to control the entire game? A shame is not just an attack, it's a trap. A psychological setup designed to pull you into a reaction you didn't choose. And the moment you react emotionally, you've already accepted the role they assigned to you. Think about it carefully. When someone shames you, whether it's a subtle insult, a public comment, or a sarcastic remark, they're not just speaking, they're framing reality. They're trying to define who you are, in front of others, and more dangerously, in your own mind. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Whoever controls the frame controls the power. Now let me ask you something. When someone disrespects you, do you immediately feel the urge to defend yourself, to explain, to justify, to prove them wrong? That urge is exactly where you lose. Because emotional reaction is submission in disguise. The moment you react, you accept their accusation as something that needs defense, you enter their game, you give them control over your state, and now you're no longer in power. You're responding. You're chasing. You're trying to recover something they just took from you. But a Machiavellian mind doesn't play like that. It understands something deeper. Silence is not weakness. It is control. When you don't react, when you don't rush to defend yourself, when you simply observe, you break the expected pattern. And that's where power begins. Let's go deeper. Imagine this scenario. Someone tries to embarrass you in front of others. They expect one of three reactions. You get angry, you defend yourself, you feel uncomfortable. All three give them what they want. But what happens when you do none of them? When you just pause, look at them calmly, and say nothing? Now let me ask you, what do you think happens in their mind when you don't react the way they expected? Confusion, uncertainty, even doubt, because now the frame is unstable. They threw an attack, but it didn't land. And when an attack doesn't land, the attacker starts questioning themselves. This is psychological reversal. This is control. Most people think power is about having the perfect comeback, the perfect words, the perfect response. But real power is not reacting at all, because when you stay composed, you force the other person to sit in their own discomfort, and discomfort exposes weakness. Now here's where it gets even more strategic. Not reacting doesn't mean doing nothing forever. It means choosing when to respond instead of reacting instantly. There's a difference. Reaction is emotional, response is calculated, and timing is everything. Sometimes the most powerful move is delayed. You let the moment pass. You let them feel the silence. You let others observe their behavior. And then, if needed, you respond later, calm, precise, and controlled. Now ask yourself honestly, do you control your reactions, or do your reactions control you? Because if someone can trigger you, they can control you. And if they can control you, they own the interaction. This is why emotional discipline is not optional. It's a weapon, a silent one, but deadly in psychological terms. Let me give you a final perspective shift. When someone shames you, they are revealing more about themselves than about you. Their insecurity, their need for dominance, their lack of control. But if you react emotionally, you hide their weakness and expose yours. So instead, you stay still, you stay grounded, you stay in control, and in that moment, without raising your voice, without saying much, without proving anything, you take the power back. Now think about this. Next time someone tries to shame you, will you react like they expect, or will you control the frame and make them question themselves? Because that single choice changes everything. Shame is only powerful when you resist it. Read that again, because this is where most people fail. When someone tries to shame you, your instinct is to reject it, to deny it, to push it away as fast as possible. But that reaction creates tension, And tension creates weakness. Because now you're trying to protect an image. And the moment you try to protect your image, you become fragile. Now let me ask you something. Why do some people get insulted constantly, while others can't be touched at all? It's not because they're perfect. It's because they don't defend their image. They control it. This is where the game changes. A Machiavellian mind doesn't fight shame. It absorbs it, reshapes it, and sends it back stronger. This is called reframing. And it's one of the most dangerous psychological tools you can master. Let's break it down. When someone throws shame at you, they are offering a narrative. You are weak. You are not good enough. You should feel embarrassed. Most people either reject it emotionally or try to explain why it's wrong. Both are mistakes. Because both responses accept the premise. But what if you didn't reject it? What if you didn't defend yourself at all? What if you agreed? Now pause and think. What happens when you agree with an insult without feeling ashamed? You remove its power completely, because shame needs resistance to survive. Without resistance, it collapses. Let's make this practical. If someone says, "You're too quiet," it's weird. A weak response, "No, I'm not. I just don't talk much." You're defending. You're explaining. You're already losing. But a strategic response, "Yeah, I don't waste words." Now the frame shifts. Silence is no longer weakness, it's control. Or if someone says, "You think you're better than everyone," instead of reacting, "Maybe I just don't lower my standards." Now their attack becomes your status. This is how you flip the game. Now let me ask you, are you trying to protect your image, or are you strong enough to redefine it? Because the strongest people are not those who appear flawless. They are the ones who are untouchable, and you become untouchable when nothing embarrasses you, when nothing shakes you, when you can take any attack and turn it into identity. Here's the deeper psychology behind this. When you openly accept a flaw, or even exaggerate it slightly, you create something powerful, psychological immunity. People can't use against you what you already own. In fact, the more comfortable you are with your perceived flaws, the more confident you appear, and confidence is interpreted as status. Now think about it. Have you ever noticed how some people joke about themselves, yet somehow gain more respect instead of losing it? That's not accidental. That's control. They are telling the world, "There is nothing here you can use against me." And when people sense that, they stop attacking. Because there's no reward. But there's another layer to this strategy. You don't just agree, you redirect. You subtly elevate the meaning. You turn the insult into a signal of discipline, standards, or independence. And this must be done calmly. No aggression, no overacting, just quiet certainty. Because if you try too hard, you lose credibility. This is not about being loud. This is about being unshakable. Now here's the final shift most people never understand. Shame is a social weapon. It only works when others see you affected. So when you remain composed and even transform the narrative, you don't just neutralize the attacker, you influence the audience. And perception is reality. In that moment, you go from target to someone in control. Now ask yourself honestly, when the next insult comes, will you defend yourself like everyone else, or will you absorb it, reshape it, and rise above it? Because once you master this, no one can lower your status again. They can only accidentally raise it. Silence, most people misunderstand it. They think silence means weakness. They think silence means you have nothing to say. They think silence means you've lost. But in psychological warfare, silence is not empty. Silence is pressure, and the person who controls silence controls the interaction. Let's go deeper. When someone tries to shame you, insult you, or provoke you, they are not just speaking. They are fishing for a reaction, a facial expression, a defensive reply, a shift in your energy, anything that proves they've affected you. Because the moment they affect you, they gain control. Now think about this carefully. Why do people feel uncomfortable in silence, especially after saying something aggressive? Because silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates tension. Humans are wired to resolve tension as quickly as possible. So when you don't respond, when you don't react, when you just sit there, calm and unreadable, you force the other person into a psychological loop. They start thinking, did that offend them? Did I go too far? Why aren't they reacting? And now suddenly, they're no longer in control. You are. Now let me ask you, when someone disrespects you, can you hold eye contact and stay silent for just 3 seconds? Most people can't. Because those 3 seconds feel like eternity. Their mind starts racing. Their emotions start rising. They feel the urge to speak, to fix, to react. But that urge is exactly what gives away power. Silence, when used correctly, becomes a form of dominance. Not loud dominance, not aggressive dominance, but controlled, unsettling, psychological dominance. Let's make this real. Imagine someone throws a subtle insult at you in a group setting. They expect laughter. They expect you to respond. They expect movement. Instead you pause. You look at them. No smile, no anger, no words, just presence. Now think, what do the people around you feel in that moment of silence, tension, curiosity? Attention shifts, because silence forces everyone to observe. And in that observation, the person who spoke first starts to look exposed. Sometimes they'll even try to fill the silence themselves. They'll start talking more, explaining, backtracking, and the more they talk, the weaker they appear. This is the power of letting people reveal themselves, without you doing anything. Now here's where it becomes even more strategic. Silence is not just about saying nothing. It's about saying less than expected. There's a difference, because sometimes a single sentence after silence hits harder than a long argument. For example, someone insults you. You pause, let the silence stretch, then calmly say, "Are you done?" That's it. Short, controlled, precise. And now the pressure shifts completely. Or even, that's interesting. Nothing more. Now, they're left wondering what you meant. And when people start guessing your thoughts, you've already won. Now ask yourself, do you feel the need to explain yourself, or can you let others sit in uncertainty? Because explaining reduces mystery, and mystery creates power. People fear what they don't fully understand, and silence builds that fear. But there's another layer most people ignore. Silence also gives you time to observe, time to read the room, time to understand intentions. While others react impulsively, you gather information, and information is power. This is why the most dangerous individuals are not the loudest in the room. They are the quiet ones, the ones who speak less, but see more, the ones who don't rush, but calculate, the ones who let others talk and expose themselves. Now let me challenge you. What if the next time someone tries to provoke you, you said nothing at all? No defense, no reaction, just controlled silence. Can you handle the discomfort? Because that discomfort is where transformation begins. And here's the final truth. Silence is not about avoiding conflict. It's about controlling it. You decide when to speak. You decide when to respond. You decide how much of yourself is revealed. And when you master that, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people are hard to control. Now think carefully. In your next confrontation, will you fill the silence like everyone else? Or will you use it as a weapon and let others defeat themselves? Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Everything changes the moment you stop taking things personally. Read that again. Because this is where real power begins. Most people walk through life emotionally exposed. Every word hits them. Every opinion affects them. Every insult feels like an attack on their identity. And because of that, they are easy to control. Because if someone can control how you feel, they can control how you behave. Now think about this carefully. How many times have you reacted, not because something was true, but because it felt personal? That feeling is the trap. Shame only works when it connects to your identity. When you believe, this is about me. This defines me. This hurts me. But a Machiavellian mindset sees something different. It sees interaction as strategy, not emotion, not ego, not identity, just strategy. And in strategy, nothing is personal. Now let that sink in. When someone insults you, They are not revealing truth. They are revealing intent, their mood, their insecurity, their need for control. But the moment you take it personally, you internalize their chaos. And now, you're reacting to their state, not acting from your own. Now let me ask you something. What if nothing anyone said about you had the power to disturb your inner state? No anger, no embarrassment, no emotional spike, just observation, just awareness, just control. That's detachment. And detachment is not coldness. It's clarity. It's the ability to see situations for what they are, without being pulled into them. Let's break this illusion. You think you're reacting to their words, but you're not. You're reacting to the meaning you attach to those words. Change the meaning, and you change the reaction. This is why two people can hear the same insult and respond completely differently. One gets triggered. The other stays calm. Why? Because one is attached, and the other is detached. Now ask yourself honestly, are you reacting to reality or to the story you're telling yourself about it? Because most of the time, it's the story. And stories can be rewritten. Here's where it becomes powerful. When you detach, you stop needing validation. You stop needing approval. You stop needing to prove anything. And when you don't need anything from anyone, you become dangerous. Not in a physical sense, but in a psychological one. Because now, no one can manipulate you through praise or shame. Think about it. If someone praises you, you don't get overly attached. If someone insults you, you don't get affected. You remain the same, stable, grounded, unmoved. And that consistency creates presence. Now here's a deeper layer. People test you. Constantly. Sometimes consciously. Sometimes unconsciously. They push, they provoke, they observe your reactions. Because your reactions tell them how to treat you, how far they can go, where your limits are. But when you are detached, your reactions don't give them anything. No weakness, no emotional openings, no leverage. And when people can't read you, they can't control you. Now think about this. Have you ever noticed how people respect those who seem emotionally unaffected, even if they don't fully understand them? That's not a coincidence. That's perceived power. Because emotional control signals strength, and unpredictability creates caution in others. But let's go even deeper. Detachment also protects your energy. Every time you react emotionally, you invest energy, you drain focus, you lose clarity. But when you detach, you conserve that energy. You stay sharp, you stay aware, you stay in control of your direction. Now imagine this. Someone tries to shame you publicly. They expect embarrassment. They expect reaction. They expect emotional movement. But instead you stay calm. Maybe you smile slightly. Maybe you say nothing. Maybe you respond briefly without emotion. And then you move on. No tension. No attachment. Now let me ask you, who looks more powerful in that moment? The one trying to provoke, or the one who remains unaffected? The answer is obvious. Because power is not in forcing reactions. It's in being beyond them. And here's the final truth most people never realize. Detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means your feelings don't control you. You still see, you still understand, you still process, but you choose your response instead of being driven by impulse. And that choice is everything. Because in that space between stimulus and response, that's where power lives. Now ask yourself one final question. Will you continue to let people control you through emotions, or will you detach, observe, and start controlling the game itself? Because the moment you truly detach, you don't just defend against shame, you rise above it completely. In the end, this was never about destroying anyone. It was about transforming yourself into someone who cannot be shaken. Because people will always try to shame you. They will test you. They will provoke you. They will try to define you. But now you see the game differently. You understand that reaction is weakness, silence is pressure, reframing is power, detachment is freedom. You don't fight shame anymore. You neutralize it. You don't defend your image. You control the frame. You don't try to win arguments. You win perception. And that changes everything. Now think about this carefully. The next time someone tries to shame you, they will expect the old version of you. The reactive one. The emotional one, the predictable one. But what they'll meet instead is someone calm, someone unreadable, someone in control. And that moment, that silent shift, is where power is revealed. So here's the final question. Will you keep reacting like everyone else? Or will you become the one person they can't control, can't shake, and can't break? Because once you master this, you don't just handle shame, you rise above it completely.